Hello and welcome to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Chris, and we're going to talk about call ads today. That is the topic of the day. We're going to talk about call ads in Google Ads. So if you want to know how you can get calls directly from Google search, literally they type in the search bar and then they call you. Be sure and stick around because that's what I'm talking about today. Going to be a great episode. I have questions from listeners of the show. I also have Joey Bidner is going to make an appearance. He's going to talk to us about a really interesting metric of the week. Going to tell you about a new column that you may not be aware of. So be sure and stick around. My name is Chris Schaefer, and let's jump in. So I want to tell you about a product that actually I got a question about just this week that somebody, Paul, wrote in and said, "Hey Chris, I'm a recent addict of your podcast and I have a question about Opteo. Since Performance Max campaigns are more AI-centric compared to other Google campaigns, does Opteo really help that much with these campaigns?" Well, Paul, thank you for the question. The fact is yes, Opteo does help with the optimization of these AI-led Performance Max campaigns. So I told you a couple weeks back, and I'm going to continue telling you about these new betas that they're releasing. So there's a beta that they're releasing that can help you with checking the words that are coming through Google Ads. And it also includes the ability to check in Performance Max campaigns, which is daunting. There's not really many ways that you can do that in the interface, not effectively in any way. So using the AI system, Google uses Performance Max to kind of get all kinds of traffic, but through Opteo, you can filter this and manage Performance Max through Opteo better than you would with just Google alone. So if you're using Performance Max, if you're using search campaigns, if you're using any of these things that you're spending money on Google, you can get more out of your money with Opteo because it helps you to optimize and actually see more data than you would see with just the vanilla Google Ads campaigns. So it's a tool that fits right on top of Google Ads. You can browse the interface and immediately get answers to the priority questions. And if you're interested in this particular beta, you can go to opteo.com/PSP. That's opteo.com/PSP. Sign up for a free trial for 2 months. You get 2 months for free. Okay. And when you sign up, be sure and tell them, "Hey, I want access to the new beta." Chris talked about the Ngram tool. That's the letter N, GRAM, Ngram tool. You want to ask them for access to that because that can help you, just as Paul asked, to optimize Performance Max campaigns and see all kinds of additional data that are in your search terms that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. Amazing tools coming out from Opteo, so I appreciate their sponsorship of the show. Let's continue on now with the metric of the week. I have Joey on the line here, and Joey is going to tell us about a new, well, it's not new, but it may be new to you, a changes column that can make a massive performance boost to you understanding, what you did yesterday, what you're doing today, and all this kind of stuff. You're going to like it. Joey, take it away.
Hey, Chris. So for this week's metric of the week, I actually wanted to talk about a series of columns that allow you to see at a glance how many changes were made in a campaign or ad group. And the beauty of this is they're segmented by the type of change. So if you go to your custom columns or the columns button to modify your columns and just type in the search bar changes, you're going to see a series of different change columns. We have budget changes, bid changes, ad changes, all changes, keyword changes, network changes, status changes, and targeting changes. So, and as you can assume, the way these work is for whichever one you bring into your campaign or ad group view, you're able to see a numeric value that represents how many changes in that category were made in the time frame you're looking at. And I find this just to be huge because if you manage a lot of accounts, or if you have some really fast moving accounts, accounts that have a high spend, that you can take the liberty of making a lot of changes in shorter periods of time because you have so much data to work with. You can sometimes lose track of when you made changes. And, as we've talked about in previous episodes, yes, you can use the note tab section to make a note of when you made those changes. And, you can look at your change history, blah, blah, blah. But what I love about this is when you're looking at data, let's say you're just looking at your return on ad spend, your spend, like whatever your KPIs are, this is another column that's lined up right next to it that says, oh, yeah, this week you made 3 bid changes. And that would indicate to me like, oh, I've already made 3 bid changes, even though, you know, um, I'm seeing some data that would reflect that maybe I'd want to make another change. Let's say it's like, oh, I've already made 3. I'm going to hold off and let those flesh out. And this is especially helpful again for clients or accounts that are also moving really fast, where you're scaling spend. Now, when we scale spend, typically the rule of thumb is if you want to double or triple your spend, you don't do it overnight, right? You don't double or triple your budget. You stage gate it. You add 20% here, 20% there. As the days go on, you add a little bit of budget, right? But sometimes you can get a little carried away when you're starting to add budget and you're seeing like smashing results come through. You're seeing your return on ad spend climb as your budget is climbing. And these are, those holy grail accounts when you're in peak season, for example. But this column of budget changes just really keeps you on your toes in the sense of not getting carried away, where you can see at a glance, oh, I already made a budget change yesterday that maybe you forgot about because you manage so many accounts. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow before making my next push. So I find them really helpful. It's also really helpful to have these in accounts where maybe you have more than one account manager. Um, if you work at an agency or that has more than one manager, or if you just have a client that likes to poke around. Um, yeah, I know you can go to the change history section, but change history is always kind of clunky, I found. It's got a lot of functionalities to filter what changes you made, but I've still always found it kind of clunky and things can be buried. This, again, at a glance view, you can see, oh, somebody made a bid change. I didn't make a bid change. Then you can dig into it. So I'm going to go over them again. There's budget changes, that one pretty clear if you increase or decrease your budget. Bid changes, if you changed anything related to bids. Ad changes, this is if you made any changes to ad copy or if you just changed, yeah, if you changed any of your ad. All changes is any change that relates to any of these columns. Keyword changes, if you paused or activated or added any new keywords or changed their match type. Network changes, this is if you paused or enabled, let's say, search partners or the display network. Status changes, this is if you change the status of an ad group or an ad group within a campaign. Or sometimes if, let's say, the status changes to disapproved because of a policy issue, this can help flag that. And then targeting changes. So if you made any audience targeting changes or adjustments. So again, yeah, just search changes in your columns modification tab and start playing around with these. I've started pinning at least bid and budget changes to all my dashboards. I find them really helpful and I hope you do too. So yeah, back to you, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Joey. Awesome stuff. I appreciate that. And if you would like to reach out to Joey, you can do so. The link is in the description for my website and Joey's website. He offers help as well as I do. So continuing on now to another question. We have a question from Wayne, who this just seems to be the topic of the day, really. It's kind of a it's a big topic. It's on everybody's mind. Wayne has a question about AI, and I thought, I don't address it very much on this podcast, but I thought since he's sending the question, let's talk about it a bit. So Wayne says, "Hey Chris, loving the podcast. Please keep up the amazing work that you're doing. I'd love to know your point of view on future Google Ads and AI. AI is the buzzword that has a lot of agencies worried about the future of their positions and roles. I'm still skeptical on how AI is going to work with Google Ads, as they already have their own internal systems, and we have a local company trying to sell us an AI system that sources negative keywords based on search patterns and other things. So Wayne wants to know what my views are on AI plus Google Ads. So this is, of course, silly for anyone to deny that AI is going to have any impact, just like it was silly for anyone to say that the internet's a silly thing that won't make a difference and it's not going to affect me, right? This feels like a whole nother wave of technology that down the road will become a cornerstone of many things that could replace jobs. So first of all, I am not fearful of AI taking over a PPC manager's job. I don't believe that agencies will be removed. I don't believe that the human aspect will be removed. I think these are tools that can be efficiently used in different ways. I know people that put together tools and methods to use AI with Google Ads to come up with better ad copy and prompts and ideas and strategies and things like that. Of course, that's using AI as an external tool. There's AI that's directly connected to the relevance of keywords and Performance Max campaigns and the matching of your content to the content you're trying to reach, display campaigns, YouTube campaigns, all of this, AI is playing a part. So my views as of mid-2024 is this. I'm forced to use it because it's integrated in with Google Ads, right? I can't not use it. I can't opt out of it because Google is putting it more and more into the Google Ads algorithm, right? Algorithm was the term that we used before. It was algorithm this, algorithm that. Now it's AI this and AI that. So I can't avoid algorithms in the same way that I can't avoid AI. It's going to be forced upon me because it's not an option, because I'm using Google's tools, and that's where Google is headed. So there's that. The other side of the coin is, do I use it as an external tool? And just to tell you personally, no, I do not use AI personally or professionally to any extent. I might make a poem for my kids and make them laugh because I write them up a poem using AI about, a cat or farts or something like that, to make them laugh. But beyond that, it's not a part of my personal or professional life. I don't utilize it, but that doesn't mean I don't think that there's some value. It's just, some things I'm just not willing to put time into. I'm not interested in expanding on. So that's not to say that some people can't make use of it. Now, as far as how much I think Google Ads and external AI systems matter and my views of it is this. I do not think that anyone can look at Performance Max campaigns or keyword relevance matching and all these other aspects and think that somehow Google is going to get it right all the time through AI. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that AI is going to be a better method than humans or doing things that we've done in Google Ads all before, because my experiences with many of my clients, Performance Max can generate a lot of something, but as far as quality, as far as control and what I can generate myself through search campaigns, at least for lead generation, it is far from capable of doing what I can do myself. So the ability to control and manage is far from what AI can do. I am highly displeased with lead generation using Performance Max. I'm highly displeased with the quality of traffic and management controls and all the levers and buttons that I have at my disposal with Performance Max, or even down to keyword matching, right? When I choose a certain keyword, the past 3 or 4 years have been extremely frustrating, because as we lean towards more of a computer learning system to match the relevance of my keyword to the search term, how satisfied, right? If I put a scale of 1 to 10 in front of you and asked you, how satisfied are you between your keyword intent that you gave and Google's matching to the search term that matches to that keyword, right? I would imagine most people are 5 or below. That's definitely how I feel. And a lot of that is due simply to the fact that, hey, that's how AI is doing it. That's how relevancy is now starting to be matched, and it can be very frustrating. So it's a long-winded answer. I appreciate Wayne sending in the question, because I don't address it very much, but at this point, I definitely think there's a future to it. I do not feel that it will replace anything that we can do at this point. And as far as my use of it, it's very limited. But I think it has a long way to go before I ever start finding value beyond what I can contribute myself. So, but it would certainly be silly for me to say that it's never going to make a difference. I absolutely believe that it will make a difference, and that I'll be utilizing it more and more as the years go by. So, thank you for your question. If you, my listeners, would like to send in a question, you can do so at paidsearchpodcast.com. There is an ability for you to stream the episodes there. You can also email me directly at paidsearchpodcast@gmail.com. That is the email address you can send your questions in at. So, without further ado, I want to put the majority of this episode into the last section here, call ads. I want to define what it is. I want to help you understand the pitfalls that you need to know about, and why so many people use it, why it can be an amazing thing to use, and also why a lot of people lose a lot of money and are completely frustrated with it. So let's do a deep dive into call ads. And real quick to remind you, to.com/PSP, that is the only thing I ask you guys to do. I don't ask you to donate or do anything special to, listen to the rest of the show or anything like that over on this website. Send $5 in here, or go to my website to download and get this special thing. I don't do any of that. There's only one thing I ask, and I do appreciate it when I hear people say that they're trying Opteo. I would like if you would give Opteo an opportunity. That's the only funding that I get for this podcast, and I appreciate their sponsorship, and I appreciate you guys trying out the tool for free at opteo.com/PSP. Deep dive into call ads. So, what is a call ad? A call ad is something that is exclusively available on Google.com, the search engine, not display campaigns, right? If it's available on display campaigns, I'm not going to use it. Perhaps it is, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's not available on display campaigns, simply because I would never guide you to making a call ad for a display campaign. But call ads are on Google.com. Why are they on Google.com? Well, because when someone wants to make a decision about who to hire for this job, or who to call for a car repair or something like that, that is a moment of decision that someone goes to Google.com to make that decision, and then calls based on the results that they see on the website. And call ads are paid advertisements that offer the ability for someone to skip the website and just call the advertiser directly, which is really pretty incredible. And that's the number one point here, is that It is an amazing value to run call ads on Google.com because you don't send them to a website. You don't have to worry about your website design or your call to action or your headlines or if you're using the right images or the color of your website. None of that matters. We skip that and go straight to the point of calling the service provider, calling the business directly. So that's an amazing value to go straight from search to phone call. And in your point of view, if you're the person running the ads, going from click to lead, right? They click and you get a phone call. So it's incredible. Great value. Another thing that's amazing about it is that it has a built-in conversion tracking, right? So whenever someone calls, there is a conversion that is triggered. And what's really cool is that this conversion that's assigned to this phone call can be based upon the number of seconds that the call has been connected. So if they're on the phone for 60 seconds, that might track as a conversion. It would track in your Google Ads account, and now you have a conversion. If they're on the phone for only 30 seconds, your minimum might be 60. So now that is a click. That's a phone call, but it's not a converting phone call. So you can understand you have a lot of metrics that you don't have with the traditional text ad. You have a click, confirmed phone call, and then if the phone call lasts beyond a set number of seconds, you now have a converted. You have a conversion phone call. Immediately 3 levels of data acquisition that is not accessible for text ads, because text ads, you have a click. You got a click, and it could be a conversion, but that's not built in. You have to set that up separately. Conversion tracking with call ads is really built in. Okay, so singing the praises of call ads. If you haven't used them and you're a service provider, if you want phone calls, it can be an amazing resource. Okay, so I want to get that clear. I don't want this to be a negative on phone calls. I want people to know that it's a great opportunity to get great traffic, great direct phone calls to your site. But there are pitfalls. There are some major things you need to be aware of. So let's deep dive into some of the warnings that I would have. The first thing is when you're setting up a phone call or when you're setting up a call ad in Google Ads, you have the opportunity to put your website into 2 different areas. You can have your destination URL and your final URL. Okay, that the names might be different. I can't remember the names. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. But the point is there's 2 places to put your website, right? Your website, abc.com/lawn care. That's the page you want them to go to. And you also have an option to verify the phone number by pointing Google to the page that has that phone number on it that you're wanting people to call. Okay, so the important part is this. You don't have to let people go to your website. The only URL that you have to put in is your verification URL. That's it. So you don't have to give a final URL. You only have to give a verification URL. And that's important because if you don't give a final URL, Google will not show an ability for someone to go to your website. It only gives them the option to call. That's it. They can call. They can't go to your website. So the only time you're going to pay money is when they make a phone call to you, or at least when they click on it. That's it. So that's the first pitfall you can fall into, because you may be running call ads and wondering why you're getting all these clicks but no actual phone calls. It could be because they're actually clicking on your website, which is running right beside your phone number. So be sure and only use the verification URL if you're only interested in phone calls. The next thing to know is this. A call ad has a higher bid threshold. So a bid threshold is a certain level requirement for your ad to even show, right? You walk in to a restaurant and the restaurant's selling steaks starting at $25 per steak. You walk in with a $10 bill, say, I want a steak. You're not getting a steak. It's not that they don't have steaks. It's not that they're not willing to sell you steaks. It's just your $10 bill won't even get you to the level of that steak. It starts at $25. So you better bring your $25 bill. This is an illustration. Go with me. You better bring your $25 in order to get that steak, because you're only going to get the minimum level steak. All right. So the higher you bid, the more opportunity you might be able to get more of something. And that's the case here. So if you wonder why your call ads are so expensive, it's because there is a higher bid threshold, a minimum threshold requirement. So because of that, you need to be prepared. If you're used to spending $5 a click on text ads, you might experience $15 a click on call ads. That's 2 to 3 times higher than what you would get on text ads. That's very standard. It can be extremely expensive. So if you're used to spending your budget at $5 a click, be prepared that you might be spending per click on a phone number at 10, 15, 12, maybe higher. So this is something that could absolutely be a big deterrent. Small budgets can immediately be eaten up by very high CPCs, cost per click, because of the higher bid threshold. So if you're saying, I never heard about these call ads, thanks so much, Chris, I'm going to try it. You try it and you realize, oh my God, I just got 2 clicks and I just blew my whole day's budget. Well, that's because there's a bid threshold that is higher for call ads. So be prepared for that. Another pitfall that you really want to avoid is, because you're paying directly for a phone number to be called on Google, you're bypassing the website. So when you're bypassing the website and going straight to a phone call, now it has to be during times when you can pick up that phone call, right? If you're having somebody come and knock on your door, you better be home every time. Well, it's your business. Don't come knocking on the home door, but knocking on your business door when it's your business, when you're ready to answer the door. So don't run your ads outside of business hours. Be very cautious about this. I find many people just leave their ad schedule set to 24/7 without even thinking about the fact that, they're running call ads, or maybe, they're a B2B business, and B2B rarely get leads outside of business hours. Meanwhile, residential might get leads all day long. B2B may not be good. So be aware that your ad schedule could be critically important if you are running call ads, because it can be a complete waste. Next, and this is the stickiest part. Okay, so let's slow down a little bit here, because it's important that you understand these last couple points. This is the biggest issue that I have with call ads. Now remember, at the very beginning, I praised call ads. I talked about how important it is, and for a business to be able to get a call. I've had many clients that I run exclusively call ads, and I don't ever run text ads at all for them. They just want phone calls. Their website's really bad. I don't even want to point them to the website. So, what's the dirty little secret? Well, the dirty secret is this. You can get a click on a phone number, but the phone may not ever ring. Because here's what happens. A call ad is going to be triggered when someone does a search on a mobile device. Now, if you've used a smart device, very often it asks your permission and confirmation whenever you click a phone number. You click a phone number, it doesn't just dial. At least that's not normal as of 2024. Right now, you punch that phone number and it asks call or cancel. So the bad news is if someone's on google.com and they click your phone number, they can click cancel and that call never happens. But from Google's side, that click still happened. So that cost will still be incurred. Now, this is no scandal. This is no massive, negative thing that, oh my goodness, this is horrible. This is known, and you can still see how many clicks happened, and you can still track how many phone calls happened and how many of those phone calls were conversions. So this is not a known thing, but as far as Google delivering the product, they've delivered the click. It's just that the person decided to cancel that click and not call. So this is particularly sticky and unfortunate because now call ad, you could pay that $15 for that click on a phone number that does not deliver a phone call. And what did you get? You got nothing. You got nothing because they didn't even go to your website. Right? As I talked about at the beginning, you could just exclude your website. So there's not even a website. You get absolutely nothing. You just paid $15 and you didn't even get the phone call. So I often find that 2 out of 3 times the phone call will go through. 1 out of 3 times somebody might click and hit cancel. And you can check that. You can see how many times a phone call happens versus how many clicks happen. That's trackable. That's something you can do. But just be aware that you can get more clicks than you do even connections to your phone number, which is upsetting because now suddenly if 1 out of 3 are not connected, never do call, now you're paying that accelerated CPC, that higher cost per click, and it only happens 2 out of 3 times. So now the cost per phone call rises. Unfortunately, it's even more expensive. So one last thing into our deep dive on call ads is this. And this is very important. If you're just learning about call ads, please, if I haven't made it clear, be aware there are a lot of pitfalls. And if you're running a higher CPC, a higher bid, you're having to bid higher and get more out of your daily budget to run these. It's costing 3 times as much to run these call ads, and you're not careful with the quality of your keywords. That's a double whammy on the failure of the campaign to get you any value at all. For example, if you have a lot of competitor names showing up in your search terms, if your keyword is lawn care broad match and the top search term and many others underneath are Bob's Lawn Care and Joe's Lawn Trimming and Tina's, I'm out of analogies, but if that is a common occurrence, imagine how bad your lead quality will be. Imagine how much of a waste it'll be for someone to search for Tim's Lawn Care, click on your phone number, call you and realize, what? You're not Tim. This isn't the company I called. Not only will they be frustrated, you'll be frustrated because it wasted your time or whoever's time is answering the phone, and you paid for it. You paid for a higher cost per click, and you paid for junk. So please be careful to make sure that you first have keyword integrity, that you have quality of traffic locked down, because if you don't have it locked down, it could be a complete mess on what you're paying for. The budget can be expended very quickly. The quality of traffic could absolutely take a nosedive. There's a lot of things, but I would encourage you, if you are doing lead generation, if you're doing something where a phone call is important to your business, you might try call ads. I hope this helps to demystify it now that I've kind of walked through some of the things. If you'd like further analysis, further help with your call ads, I'd be happy to help. I would recommend my consulting, which is a 1-hour Zoom session over 1-hour Zoom session through Zoom, and you can book that on my website, chrisschaefer.com. Otherwise, thank you so much for being a part of the episode. I'll catch you